This an all-out blitz, real hard hits, them other podcast trash, we gon' make them all quit. We cover all the topics with intelligence and logic. I know you wanna score, but ID gon' stop it. We from Texas, so that mean that we Texans. Breaking down the X's and O's our profession. No complaining, just training, you see the progression. They had a Pro Bowl for talk shows, we get selected. We gon' celebrate every win like a birthday. Ray J with the news, first with all the updates. Spin move on the competition, yeah, we juking them. You not really in touch if you not tuning in. This is Crenshaw, Briggs, and VT. We want the touchdown, we not trying to go for 3. And it's best if you get up out the street, cause them bulls out the pen and they bout to stampede.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? It is the Texans Fan Battle Podcast. This is going to be a different episode than what you're used to because I have two special guests on today. We've got Leo. His handle is @LeoIsForgiven. He is the co-host of Feelings Free Football, and you probably know him because me and Leo host Twitter Spaces all the time. Leo, say what's hot. Say what's up to the people.
What's up, everybody?
And we've also got Jay. Jay is @moderate_Texan. He hosts the Moderate Texan podcast. You can follow him on YouTube. Jay, say what's up to the people.
How you doing, everybody? Let's meet in the middle.
There we go. So we're going to get started with some Texas news, and we've got a lot of news, honestly. So
you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 and a 5 stick, you can get high with me. That's a deal, right? Ride with me if you're.
So let's start with some unfortunate news for Eric Murray. He is on IR. So he has a knee injury, and you know, a lot of people, including myself, were actually distraught when they signed him back because he really hasn't performed the way that people thought he was going to. But this year, he figured out how to play some ball. I'll tell you that. He's been making some big plays. He's played 43% of defensive snaps, 37% of special team snaps. He's had 4 tackles, and he had that huge forced fumble in the Jaguars game. Jay, I'll start with you. How do you think this affects the Texans, and what do we have to do to compensate for his injury?
This is a big depth issue. Safety depth was kind of thin already. You kind of go from Jimmy Ward and Jalen Petrie to having to throw Eric Murray in there, and Jimmy Ward having to go down to the nickel because we don't have Tavier Thomas, especially because Kadar Holman couldn't perform there and Graylin Arnold couldn't perform there. So because of the lack of depth, you have to make a signing so that you can have that safety depth, or you get that nickel depth or something, because you can't just run with MJ Stewart back there.
All right, Leo, what do you think?
Yeah, same thing, man. Like, you know, it's just a depth thing, and like with Tavi out, and Tavi out. I mean, that's a big blow. So you was playing Ward at a position that, you know, obviously he could play, but we didn't even expect to really see him there. So, I mean, and God forbid that, like, we have another injury that, you know, requires something else to happen, because, I mean, we're already kind of, you know, shuffling through guys. So, yeah, you know, it's definitely a big blow, you know.
Do you guys think that we should sign back King? Because the Steelers said basically that they'll cut him if they can't find a trade partner. And we know that he's played, you know, almost everywhere in the secondary. He can play nickelback. Do you think that is something that we do? And I mean, in a pinch, potentially he could play backup safety. Either of you can respond.
I mean, I hope. I mean, shit, I would hope so. You know, because you know he's familiar with the team already. Like, he's familiar with this coaching staff. You know, I think they know his limitations and stuff. So it would be good, you know, to sign him. It would be a logical thing to do, you know, right now, especially.
Jay?
I think it would be a good signing. The only question is the other side of the house, right? So who gets cut because you sign King, right? And that I start looking at that O-line depth, because that's your most logical cut to get King in the building. And do you keep him after Tavier Thomas is back? I would hope you keep him, because that keeps you good in your secondary. You don't have that fall off. Shaq Griffin looking at you. you don't get that fall off like you would think. The secondary continues to perform well, hopefully.
Okay. Um, Sticking with the news, we signed Maji Sanders off the waiver wire. We have a mutual friend, Bab, who was really, really high on this guy. So he's 25 years old. He's 6'5.25". He's 228 pounds. His 40 time was 4.67. He's had 23 tackles, 3 sacks, a forced fumble, a fumble return, 3 pass deflections. Now, here's the thing that when I was looking at the scouting reports, basically they said that coming out of college, that he had a great first step. He had a really good motor, but the problem was that he was really bad against the run. He lacks consistency. They said his footwork was pretty much garbage or average. I mean, you can decide how far you want to take that. But the worst part, in my opinion, was that he bites on fakes too much. And if you don't have that IQ, then you're going to make big plays, but you're going to let up a lot of big plays as well. So my opinion is that he's really just going to be, just a rotational guy to keep guys fresh. But I don't think plays a major part here. Jay, I'll start with you. What do you think about the signing?
I like it. I actually think it helps with that depth. It helps us get younger, which is a big thing. I don't hate or dislike Jerry Hughes, but if you can move on from him and get younger, that is a huge plus to your defense, who is already outside of Will Anderson on that D line and maybe John Grenard. You're not getting that high of performance. So if you can get some good performance, even though it's high risk, high reward, if you can get that good performance, it's a great play.
Leo, what do you think?
I mean, so I really liked him coming out. I was actually just talking to my co-host Josh on my podcast. We were just talking about him, specifically, because I think we both liked him coming out. He plays with a good motor. I mean, he was, if y'all remember, like he was on the Cincinnati team that lost to Alabama in the playoff, with Sauce and I forget the linebacker's name, but pretty stacked defense. Oh, Kobe Bryant was back there too, I think. And, so yeah, it was a pretty stacked defense, especially for that. That year, a good program, good coach. His weight fluctuates a lot. I think because I don't think anyone expected him to weigh in at like 220. At the combine, I think or however much you said, V, or like he weighed in. Yeah, he weighed really like light. He was already kind of not, like a big edge. He had like all the he had long arms and the height, but he kind of was a guy that you would think would need to put on weight anyway. So it's obviously been an issue for him to stay heavier or to even get heavier. So that's an issue, the anchor in the run game. But I think that from a pass rush upside, if he's able to come in and like, really has his health together to where like he can maintain a good body weight and I think he has a decently high ceiling, and can be a good rotational guy, moving forward. So I think that and then hopefully if that happens, you have him for I think it's like 2 more years left on his rookie deal. So I think it's definitely like it's no risk at all. And it's nothing but rewards if it works out, So I think it was a great move, and it's a move that had to be made, in my opinion.
Well, this is a good question because this is something actually me and Crenshaw were talking about in Texas. Is he a linebacker or is he a defensive end? Because he has played both. So, Jay, I'll start with you. Where do you think we'll play him when we start him out? Is he a straight DN, or are we just going to put him all over the place?
So D'Amico likes to mix things up. We've kind of seen it in the film. He likes to kind of play to the strengths of his players. I think he'll be able to do whatever the system requires. Maybe put him outside of Will Anderson and let them both go immediately at whatever tackle, in this case, the right tackle, right? Or maybe put him back there as another helper to Tua or whatever. I don't know. I'm hoping that we find a good way to use him. I think somebody mentioned it in another chat that I was in, that he's back with Matt Burke.
Mm-hmm.
He's my old coach. So I think we find a really good way to use him and utilize his skills.
Yeah. So the question, like, of is he an edge, right? That was the question.
Right. Is he an edge or
is
is
he
he
a
a linebacker?
linebacker or defensive end? That was the question. Like, I think that it's important that we get away from questions like that. Because like an edge is an edge. To me, like he's an edge. Like, I don't think he's an off-ball linebacker. He's not someone that you want to drop back in coverage really ever at all. And really just to fool the quarterback. You don't want to ask him to guard anyone one-on-one. Like, to me, what the real question is like, for his body type and weight and all that stuff, is how many ways can he be played on the defensive line? Because like a guy like, let's say like a guy like Trayvon Walker, what made him attractive to, like, GMs and just coaches in general is that at 275 pounds with that athleticism, you can virtually, and even on tape at Georgia, he had played from like zero tech to the wide nine. And so like that's more like the real question is like, how versatile can he be played on the D line? Because he's not a guy that you really want dropping back, like in terms of like a scheme. Like, I think the truth is, like, most guys that can play defensive end can play outside linebacker, in a 3-4,
Right.
But like I think that realistically, I don't know how many ways he could be played on the D line, because he's not like, he doesn't have like the biggest frame. So like, maybe you could get weird and put him like in some kind of weird, type thing where he could play like 3 tech to like the 4 eye if you have like just like a pass rush scheme. But I think he's just an edge. Like, so for us, he definitely would be in a 9 technique. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's just simply put.
Okay. All right. And there's just a few more things to talk about here. We signed D'Angelo Ross. That's a depth piece. I don't think I'm really going to spend too much time on that. But one of the things that I want to talk about is Blake Cashman has been named the AFC Defensive Player of the Week. And man, yeah, that's right. Cash Money, Young Money, Blake Cashman is best linebacker on our team. You people that know me know that I have been very critical of Nick Caserio, but that he found this diamond in the rough and he's been balling out. Getting interceptions on Trevor Lawrence, was a beast and was critical in the win against the Saints, taking care of the run game, putting pressure on the quarterback. I can't gush about him enough. Leo, I'll start with you. What do you have to say about Blake Cashman?
All right. I mean, this was another win for Nick Caserio. If can I cuss on here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So someone needs to play what's that song? The fucking ether beat. Yeah. So anyone that has a problem with Nick Caserio, y'all all could kiss my black ass. Because this was a fucking win. We traded a 6th-round pick for him, and they said that it was a dumb move. The Jets fans laughed at us, you know what I mean? And they said he couldn't stay healthy. And I mean, that's still obviously an issue. And like, even if he performs like a starter, even if you start him, you probably should always have good linebacker depth anyway. You know what I mean? So like, you would need to have guys ready to play, because I mean, we don't even know. The sad truth is that we don't even know how long this will last for. But at the end of the day, I mean, you got a starting linebacker for a 6th-round pick. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a good win, and I mean, a small win, and I mean, but like a low risk, high reward, move. And I'm pretty sure when we trade him, probably had like 3 or 4 6th-round picks, so it hit.
Jay, what about you?
I'm gonna go into my bag of old Greek history, and Hercules had to go and get that golden fleece. Fleeced is what we should say on that trade. Blake Cashman has done everything you asked him to do. He's dropped in coverage. He's been able to play the run. He's been all over the field. You're right. He has been the best linebacker we've got on the team. And in watching the film, you can see it. He's the one that's diagnosing plays. He's the one that's seeing things before it happened. I'm watching the Saints film earlier today with Leo, and we're watching him see the run happen, and then he cues to blitz, and they all of a sudden go. Like this is high level play from a guy you paid a 6th round pick for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that is what you can't ask for anything better.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. I mean, there really isn't anything more that you could expect from him. He's already superseded what any of our expectations were for a 6th round pick. All right, so we've got through most of this stuff, but we got to talk about the Texans rankings. And the reason why we got to talk about the Texan rankings, honestly, is because I know some people didn't like me saying this, but I think we're playoff bound.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs?
Yeah, playoffs. We are seeing PFT has us ranked at the 14th best team. NFL.com has 16th. ESPN is 17th. Sports Illustrated is 17th. Bleacher Report is 16th. Man, last year we were consistently at 32. Almost every single time. Sometimes we kind of jumped up to 31 for God knows what reason, but we're consistently now anywhere between the 12th and 15th spot, right around. So, guys, are we playoff bound? What do you think about these rankings? Where would you rank the Texans? Leo, I'll start with you.
I mean, I don't really care about rankings. I don't get into like power rankings and all that shit, because I mean it doesn't matter at all. I guess like I'm a hipster or some shit, but man, I mean, are we playoff bound? I think we're in good position. I mean, our schedule, there's a lot of games that we can win, and I mean there's a lot of flux in our division. The Titans are kind of sputtering around. You don't know which way that's gonna go. And I mean, the Colts just lost their quarterback. They just lost their nose tackle. That my bad. I just read a comment. they just lost their nose tackle. That I mean, really did a lot to keep Buckner healthy and clean, and also they did a lot for their edge rushers too. As like we see, the problem with our line is not having an anchor a lot of the times, and having an edge be our anchor, and now you lose a guy that's been a real glue piece for their defense. So there's that, and then the Jaguars, I mean, they have a tough game with the Saints coming up. Then I think they have a couple tough games, and you kind of don't really know because they haven't really set themselves up to be a dominant team yet. They haven't really showed that they will consistently dominate the way people projected them to. So I think we're in a pace to be competitive for that at the end of the year. And honestly, like, that's kind of all you have to do is just stay healthy, which you can't control, and just literally just give yourself a chance at the end.
So, Jay, before I let you go, let me give you my take on the rankings. I think that, Leo, I guess you may not care about them, but I kind of like to see what the national media is saying about us, because this is the first time that they're talking about us in a very long time where they're not talking about nasty stuff, and they're actually talking about good play on the field. They're positively talking about a quarterback and they're not referencing his neck. So I very much do care what they're saying, and I do think that their rankings are pretty much right. Right, we're at 500, so I have no problem saying that we're a mid team right now, because at 3-3 we're at 500. We're still figuring stuff out. We didn't show up to the Colts game in terms of defense. We were still figuring stuff out in the Ravens game, and we shouldn't have lost that Falcons game. That Falcons game was a very winnable game, and so I can understand why we're not higher. But I will say that I agree with the rankings there. When it comes to the AFC South, AR's done for the season. Minshew had a terrible game with 3 picks. Trevor Lawrence knee, he has a problem, but I think he's going to play on Thursday anyway. Tomorrow, I know he's questionable, but I think he's going to fight through it. They do lead the NFL in turnovers, but if you look at the turnover differential, they only lead us by 1. They're +7, and we're +6 because they don't have the ball security that we have. So yes, they do get the ball back a lot more, but they're also giving it up more. Pause. So I think that the Jaguars, they are a threat, obviously, but I think that we have a shot of beating them. They're not who I said they were in the offseason, which basically I said the division was theirs, and we were just going to be second. I don't think that's the case. Jay, what do you think about the rankings and the possibility that we can make the playoffs and the rest of the AFC South?
I want y'all to get the word out. We back up. I say that because I'm going to Baltimore next week, so shout out to the Wire. But I say all of this to say pump your brakes a bit, right? I'm like Leo. I don't particularly care about the rankings because power rankings are a feel-good stat. What it really shows is that the media has acknowledged the disrespect that they gave the Texans. And the Texans are playing to show you that they felt disrespected, that they feel disrespected. And we can see that in the film. What I'm liking about the rankings is that you're right, V. It's right. It shows us that we're a middle of the pack team, even with all the mistakes that we're making, even with the youth that's on the team. We're still in the thick of it, right? And that's a really good thing to be able to say for a team that has been at the bottom of the food chain for so long. I'm liking what I'm seeing there. As for the playoffs, I still think we are a 9-8 team. Not that it's at the best. Not that that's a bad thing. If we win 10 games, shoot, I'll eat that crow. That's great to me. But I still think we make enough mistakes to lose some games. And that's okay. We're not supposed to be in the playoffs this year. If we are, we're a year ahead of where we're supposed to be.
I got to tell you, I don't think a lot of listeners and viewers are going to like that. I mean, I will say, listen, I want you to be true to your opinion. And I will say that I'm not going to be mad if we don't make the playoffs. I don't know why anyone, including you, would say that we don't deserve to be in the playoffs, though, because.
Oh, no. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I think we make, because of the way we're playing currently, the Falcons game and the Saints game are almost the exact same in terms of play. In the first half, we were the better. Well, yeah, we were the better team in the first half. And then the second half, everything just falls off. All the wheels fall off, and it's like we can't play our game anymore. And if that's going to become the pattern, especially as we play teams that have better defenses, teams like the Jets, the Browns, and other teams like that, we're gonna struggle. Right, that's gonna be an issue that we're gonna have to deal with. I'm not saying that we can't win those games. All of those games are winnable. The Browns are an enigma of a team. They beat the 49ers one week and they can't win the week prior to that, right? The Jets go out there and dominate the Eagles, but they have no quarterback and sometimes can't even do anything, right? We don't know what we're going to get with the Texans. Maybe they come out there and they dominate. Or maybe they come out like the Colts in week 2 on defense. We don't know. I want them to make the playoffs. I think we deserve to be there. We are the best team in terms of play, in terms of point differential, in terms of defensive play, in terms of how everything looks. We're the best team in this division. We deserve to be there. But do we make the plays that get us there? That's the question I have.
Well, I mean, I think that's a good question to ask. I think that at this point, we obviously just have to play the games. But I think that, listen, in terms of what we've seen, we are the 9th best team in the league in terms of points, in terms of defense. We're allowing such few points. We're 9th. Being a top 10 defense is amazing. And to me, the biggest stat, listen, you can talk about yards all you want in terms of defense, but the point there is, do you allow points on the board? And I say we're a top 10 defense because of the points that we allow, right? So that, to me, that's hugely important, despite the fact that we are either the worst or second to worst team in terms of tackling. We miss tackles like nobody's business, but we're still able to stop these teams from scoring. So I think that's important. So I understand what you're saying. I still think we deserve to be there. And I know that we want to talk about CJ's performance because he's had a historical start. He's thrown for 1,660 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 1 interception. And we look at this completion rate. I want to address that before we actually have some video to show you guys and talk about some opportunities as well that we could have hit. But before we get to that, CJ Stroud has an under 60% completion rate. And part of that is that, he's making the line look better than it actually is. And I'm not saying the line is shit by any means. It is good, but it's not great. And he gets the ball out and he throws it away without making a stupid decision. You're seeing quarterbacks that simply just try to run out, especially rookie quarterbacks. They'll try to run out, they'll roll out, and they keep going back, and they end up with a 20-yard loss in a sack. CJ's getting the ball out, and he's doing that 6-7 times per game. Then you're also seeing the fact that sometimes our receivers can't get open and he has no choice. Even if the line's holding up, if there's no one there, what do you expect him to do? Then there's also the case of him having drop pass, or not him, but receivers having drop passes. And then, of course, what we'll get into with Jay is, there's also missed opportunities. So overall, there are multiple issues for that low completion rate. And I don't put most of it on CJ, but there's accountability. And before we get to the video, I want to get just what you guys think of CJ overall. Jay, I'll start with you.
Before we jump into the video, like you said, I want everybody to understand that, to me, CJ Stroud is a top 10 quarterback right now in the NFL. I think he is already up there, and he is performing at a level that we've never seen before from a rookie. It's insane. But he is still making rookie mistakes, and that's okay. He's a rookie. We expect this. From CJ Stroud's performance, that completion percentage is not indicative of what we're seeing in his play. He makes the throws. There's drops. He makes the right read. The receiver goes the wrong way, or there's a miscommunication. The play is bad. He throws it and it gets tipped at the line. We saw that. We see that a decent amount. We saw that in the Falcons game. These are things that we can't say he's imperfect, but we can't say he's perfect. He's making rookie mistakes, and that's okay. He's a rookie.
Okay. All right. Leo, what do you have to say?
About CJ Stroud?
Yeah.
I mean, he's played good, I think today, I mean, we looked at it, me and Jay was watching and there was a lot of things that I think was left on the table for sure that would let you know that I mean, he's still a rookie. He still, there's a lot of room for growth. I think that he has a decently a high ceiling though. In the days where people act like the only way you could have a high ceiling is having an arm that could throw 80 fucking yards and being able to run a 4.4. I think that Stroud has a pretty high ceiling because he can make pretty much all the throws. I mean, then even that play, the play that wasn't a touchdown that where him and Woods had that miscommunication when he extended it and had Cam Jordan swiping at his feet and stuff. I mean, that would have been a insane play if he was able to connect on that. So I think he's done, he's exceeded my expectations. Also, EXO said in the comments, it's earned. I mean, you don't deserve to be in the playoffs until you have to earn it. And I think that, we have 11 more games to prove that we deserve that. I mean, it takes every game, So I was kind of thinking that when we moved on. But yeah, Stroud has played really good up to this point. But he has to get better. I mean, the Saints were definitely prepared for a lot of the stuff that we ran. So it just comes down to him and Slowick and just, continue to do what we do well, but also counter, know how to like counter ourselves, and what we think people are going to do to stop us. So that's how I feel about it.
Okay. I just want to add a couple things. So first of all, I think most Texans fans realize this, but he's fourth in passing yards. He's fourth in yards per attempt. So that's important. He's not just making short throws. He's actually throwing the ball down the field. He's second in most completions of 25 yards or more. So we are going to get to the video, but I also want to just say how important Nico Collins has been to CJ Stroud. Nico Collins has already beat his previous 2 years. He has 29 catches, 547 yards, 3 TDs. And the Stroud to Nico connection is responsible for 26% of all offensive yards. So I think that's important. So we're going to get into the video. Jay, why don't you walk us through this?
Yeah, definitely. So for those who don't know, I do video breakdowns on the Modern Texan podcast. Shameless plug. But we're going to look at a play here in which we left something on the field. What you guys can see here is that there looks to be some kind of end around, and I'm going to stop it here because you can see that there is an option here to throw this ball to Robert Woods, and CJ kind of comes off of it because the Saints immediately diagnose it. They know what's happening. They can see that if he throws this ball, there's going to be a tackle for loss, and this is second down, and it's like 4 or something like that. So CJ comes off of that and looks to his second option, which is Dameon Pierce. He looks like he's going to throw it and then doesn't, and then kind of pulls a Deshaun Watson and dances around in the backfield and throws it away, which hurts that percentage. If we look at it a little bit more, the question becomes, why doesn't he throw the ball to Dameon Pierce here? If he throws the ball to Dameon Pierce, we could see it here. The closest player is 10 plus yards away. And it's kind of this here that we're talking about. If he makes this play, if he throws this ball, which we know he's fully capable of throwing, there's no one in his passing lane here. The option for a first down, which is right here, and as you can see is second down, and this is where the line of scrimmage is better, and it keeps the drive going. But instead, we take a throwaway. Instead, he lets the pressure get to him. He gets happy feet and throws the ball to the feet or actually out of bounds for Robert Woods. And we can kind of see it if we kind of stitch the play together. You can see what's really happening here. Dameon Pierce is already looking for the ball. Yeah, this guy's back there, but he's got the time. He just pumped it. Why doesn't he throw that ball? That's a veteran play. I think here it's a rookie getting a bit overwhelmed, a rookie seeing, oh, snap, that's an all-pro linebacker right there in 56 who's possibly going to chase down my running back who's not the fastest. I don't know. Maybe he saw the names, but you got to make that throw. You got to make that play.
Watching this again, and we literally watched this play like today
30 times.
Yeah. This play it's like a variation of the same play that they did in the playoffs, where like it was like a double screen, and then he had it was Kittle. Kittle was running. I don't know. It wasn't in this formation. Well, actually, that's Beck. Beck is at tight end. So yeah, this is the same play that the 49ers literally ran this play in the playoffs. It was a touchdown to George Kittle, you know what I mean? From like literally probably this spot on the field. So I think that you remember that play, Jay? Have you seen it? Yeah.
This would have been the Kittle right here. He ran this with the seam.
So I think he's looking for something but it's just not there. Now that I watch it again and I remember this shit, I'm like, okay, that's he wanted to take a shot here. But it's this. Huh?
He wants this.
Yeah, right? Yeah, but it's not there. It's just not there.
Yeah, and I can agree with that. But we know quarterbacking, right? For those who know JT O'Sullivan in the QB school, one of the things he talks about is it there? Nope. Is it there? Nope. Is it there? Yes. Throw it. Right. In this case, is it there? Nope. Is it there? This is a yes. It is there. He looks to throw it. And then he doesn't. And this is kind of the thing that I've been saying. I'll stop sharing here. This is kind of the thing is take the easy stuff. Take what the defense gives you and do your job. This is a rookie mistake, though, right? This is a rookie play. He's still a rookie. He's still learning. Right. Aaron Rodgers takes this. Tom Brady takes this. The best of the best take this, and soon CJ will as well. He's learning. I'm betting after as a thanks, Beige. As Johnny Lambert said, CJ watched it 70 times. He knows what he did wrong. And as Bobby says, it's a mistake. Even veterans make mistakes. It is a mistake. But it's veterans limit mistakes like these and make the play.
And I mean, I think the big point of it is that it's not like criticizing him to the point where it's like saying he can never be good, because that's obviously wrong. It's more so just talking about the problems that we'll face. And like we talk about making the playoffs, like teams that make the playoffs make these plays against good defenses. Like you have to like when you play good defenses, like that is a play that can lead to you losing the game. You know what I'm saying? Like not converting on that third down could have led to events that lost us the game. So when there's a first down there, you have to, you know, I mean, now whether or not who knows how many times that play is even, they call that play and that route is even there, like where it's the best option. Like that's something that I just watching that, it made me realize that, damn, he really wants to throw this to the tight end. But yeah, man, so whatever, man. I mean, you know, that's just something. We'll see how I mean, that's something that we have to clean up. And like, I think if we can capitalize off that, you know, that'll be, you know, good, you know, for sure.
Yeah. Let me just say, first of all, if you guys haven't watched the Moderate Texan podcast, you should definitely subscribe to it on YouTube. And part of the reason of looking at this is so, as Texans fans, we can intelligently understand why decisions are being made. Because talking about football is great. I mean, I love doing it. It's something that I pretty much do every day of my life. But when you can talk about intelligently and actually see why decisions are made, then it kind of gives you another look into being able to talk about football and not just saying, we need to get this player, we need to get that player, because those are great discussions. But when you can see why the decisions were made, then you can kind of see, okay, if this decision was made because, say, for example, the receiver just couldn't get his breaks, he can't run this particular route correctly. Now you actually have some reasoning behind your debates when you're talking on Twitter. So highly recommend that you check out Jay's podcast when you're talking about trying to look at film. Now, going into the next thing here, which is trade deadline expectations. It's coming up 2 weeks from yesterday. So we are very, very close to deadline expectations. To the trade deadline. We have about $4 million in cap. I think people have to remember that. We got $4 million in cap. So you got to keep your expectations somewhat limited, because we can't just sign everyone. Like people are saying, hey, let's get Devontae Adams. Okay, but with what money? Like it's not just a draft pick, but you also have to pay him. So with that being said, I want to get out. Let's get it from Leo first. Leo, what are your expectations from Nick Caserio and D'Amico Ryans for the trade deadline? You're on mute. Go ahead.
My bad. I don't really have any trade. I don't really have any expectations. Like, because I think that, you know, the whole Chase Young for a second thing is intriguing, but I wonder how possible that even is. I kind of wanted to hoard the pick, and you know, I was kind of didn't want to trade a second, but you know, I realized that it's easy to package picks to move back into the second if you need to. So I understand that's not a big deal, but I mean, I still can't really, I would be happy if that happened, but I can't really say that I expect it to happen, you know? So We'll see. And I don't know any interior linemen that are on the block that like it really makes sense to do that. So, you know, we'll see.
Yeah, Jay, before I let you go, let me just tell you mine. Basically, I think that we might add a couple more depth positions. Typically, I think it's either going to be D line or secondary. I don't think we'll see really any offensive additions. I think from an offensive perspective, it is what it is. I know there was some discussion about adding like Dalvin Cook, who you think the Jets might not need, and other running backs, but I don't think that's possible because, first of all, if you're looking at some of the running backs being discussed, let's just take Dalvin Cook for an example. He is in a West Coast system and he's getting under 3 yards per carry. So what are you doing? You're just adding someone else that can't work in his own system. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't think from an offensive perspective we'll see anything. I do think that we'll get some depth from secondary or D line just because of injuries. And I think you could pick up some dudes who are on the cheap and stick them in there on the depth chart. Jay, what do you think?
I'll say temper your expectations. I think Nick Casario's answered with a non-answer when he was asked about what they plan on doing at the trade deadline, going and getting a player if it makes sense, looking to see what's available, doing only things that make sense. Honestly, I agree with you, V. I think if we're going to do anything, it's going to be we go and get a few defensive players for depth. But offensively, I don't really think we see any new movement. I think we wait for free agency next year. I think we let our record, we let our new mentality, I think we let our culture speak for itself, and that's what's going to bring in the hot names. That's what's going to get people in the door, the Lions.
So why not we just stick with you, because this is the next topic, which is the off-season wish list. What's on your wish list?
Ooh, I need to see some defensive tackle and wide receiver. I'd be cool with T. Higgins. I think he's still a great player. He's still a wide receiver one that you can go out and get. But really, my wish list, and I know this is going to sound crazy. This is a hot take here. Brandon Ayuk. Bring me Brandon Ayuk and let him cook in this system. The dude is a route running machine. Let him come into the system and cook. Pause. Also, let me go out and get a couple of defensive tackles. I think it was Kinlaw that we were talking about a couple of nights ago from San Francisco. He's already been in the system, and I think he'd work well in this current system. Also, DJ Reader, I think, is a free agent. If you want to bring in some depth, you want to bring in some older talent that is a big body. He's a large human being and can go out there and occupy a lot of space. Pause, indeed, yes. You want to get a guy who can go out there and dominate. Pause his competition. You go and get that guy. He's been good for a long time, and he learned from Vince Wilfork. So, hey, those are my wish list, guys.
He's been good for a long time.
Pause. God
Hey,
damn.
it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Yeah. And then the last thing, I know there's been some people that have been talking about, and I'm reading the chat here. They've been talking about left guard. I am interested in bringing back Kendrick Green and seeing that matchup between him and Kenyon Green and maybe even Josh Jones and either Juice Scruggs or Jarrett Patterson. Who wins that job and who's the second best? And that's who you keep.
All right. Leo, what are your wish list? Tell us who you want.
All right, so is this? I know we were talking about team building. Like, is that a segment after this, or were we just gonna talk? Is this directly in?
This is pretty much that segment. So
Okay.
talk about that now if you'd like.
So, okay, so this is a lot of shit. So I hope y'all are ready to sit the fuck down and shut the hell up and listen to this shit. So first, I want $1 billion. No, I'm just playing. Yeah, so all right, y'all. So you have to upgrade the defensive line by any means necessary. I know everybody talks about the defensive tackles, but I think just in general, like the edge position also, I'm not happy with Grenard. Like I think he's a good player, but I don't think we should be just completely satisfied with to not explore options. No, I shouldn't say I'm not happy with Grenard because I know it's gonna go over wrong, but like I think that we shouldn't necessarily be satisfied with him.
Send all complaints at Leo is forgiven.
So like but you know what I'm saying, like you shouldn't be satisfied to sit to not upgrade the position if there's a way to. Interior D line, I think we need a true one technique, a guy that has size, pause to do that, to really play one technique. I would like two guys on the line that can handle the physical nature of playing that position. On a high level and like also three tech, like I would like to have two interchangeable type guys, because that's what D'Amico's had. And then like Robert Saleh, who runs like a similar scheme, that's what he had. And then I think the D line is honestly worse than the receiving group, especially after watching this game. Like I saw that there was times where people did win, one-on-ones like a lot more than I thought they did, particularly like in the first part of in the first half. But I do think that, like as I told V, like to me, I think that if you add a legit number one receiver just option, it can completely transform the offense, to the point where it's just mathematically hard to stop us. Like, there's not that many good cornerbacks in our division right now. And then if you have, even if every team had one number one cornerback, if you have 2, 3 other guys that could beat one-on-one matchups, that can win one-on-one matchups, then it's extremely hard to stop that. And also I think if you go and get Brock Bowers, it might be necessary to maybe TQ is this guy, maybe Schultz is still this guy, but like I would like if you get Brock Bowers that type of tight end, I would like to see them, also have a true inline tight end, for sure. And yeah, man, I think we just need to add like a vertical element, like more speed, just more explosiveness in general, especially like even when we play even when we stay in heavy personnel groupings, which it seems like Slowick likes to run. Like we have to have a little bit more explosiveness. Also, running back. I think that even if it's in the running back spot, like if we go get more explosive running back, that could help. We just need more explosiveness on offense and just overall D-line help. That's how I really feel like, however, but particularly we do need at least one or two guys that can for sure play like a true one technique and not get bullied and, move backwards and stuff, So that's my.
All right. So there's two questions here that are coming up, and it's about Juice Scruggs and Hassan Ridgeway. So these two players have not been taken off IR yet. We are expecting them to be available when we play against the Panthers, but we do not know right now what's going on. We don't have much information about Juice Scruggs or Hassan Ridgeway. So we don't know what's going on with them. We hope that they'll be back. And so I'll tell you what my offseason wish list looks like. I think there's two big things that this team needs, and the biggest thing that we have an issue with is our defensive tackles. Now, I know Malik Collins showed up on the stat sheet this week. I know that Sheldon Rankings did as well, but I would say that even though Sheldon Rankings had a better day this previous week, he hasn't showed up the way that I think that your starting DT should. If you go and you watch the L-22s, what you'll notice is that he'll try to go after the quarterback, and then if he loses, he just stops. Now, if you look at Grenard, or if you look at Will Anderson, they could lose, but they don't stop. They keep trying to win their rep and going after the quarterback until that whistle is blown. That's not Sheldon Rankins. The minute that he can get after the quarterback immediately, he stops. And the problem is you can't have a DT like that, because a lot of people have been complaining about Will Anderson, right? They're saying Will Anderson needs more sacks. He's a third overall pick. We gave up the world to go get him, and even though he's stopping the run and leading pressures on the team, actually he's leading all pass rushers, or third amongst all pass rushers in the league. So I'll just throw out the real stats here. He's got 8 pressures. He has an 84.6 rating on PFF, third best of all pass rushers in week 6. Grenard Hughes at 7, he had 8. Blake Cashman had 3. Malik Collins had 3. Just so you know how that's spread around. And so the thing is, Will can't eat if the defensive tackles aren't pushing the pocket, right? Like if you have the edges coming in. Now, a quarterback can just step up and say "fuck you," unless you have a DT that can make him not go up in the pocket. That's how this whole thing works. People think that you just get a dominant edge and he just automatically gets sacks. No, there's a reason why the D line works together, right? Like, and if you don't have that dominant D tackle, you're not going to get a lot of sacks. So overall, am I happy with the way the pass rush has been? No, but that's not because of Will Anderson. That's because of our defensive tackles. So my biggest need is defensive tackle. My second is a wide receiver. Now many people would think, why? We have Nico Collins, we have Tank Dell. But you saw what happened with the Falcons game. When Tank Dell was hurt, CJ Stroud did not know what to do because Nico wasn't winning his battles with the cornerbacks, right? So what would happen is he had no place to go. Robert Woods was a bit too slow. Tank Dell was out. And so he was literally standing on the sideline waiting for someone to get open. Seriously, it was like he's waiting in line to pay for groceries. You see it so many times, and you just feel bad for him because there's nothing he can do. So you have to have someone, and I think you replace Robert Woods there, and then you have someone, say like a T. Higgins, and a Nico Collins and a Tank Dell. Those 3 receivers are great. And then on offense, I would say running back. We've seen that Dameon Pierce is struggling in this scheme. What we saw in the last game with Bobby Slowick, who was a genius in my opinion, he split carries with Singletary and Pierce, and so we saw an effective run game. We saw that Singletary got 4.8 yards per carry, while Dameon Pierce is still struggling with right around 3 or less yards per carry. But when you combine that, what you get is you get the consistency with Singletary, and you get the opportunity of having some explosiveness with Pierce. He threw in a little bit of Boone, threw in a little bit of Xavier Hutchinson. And we actually had a better run game than the Saints, and the Saints have fucking Alvin Kamara. So even though that Slowick did a great job, we need a dominant running back, and Dameon Pierce, unfortunately, is not in this scheme. Now, I'm not saying get rid of him. He'll be a fine RB2, but he's not an RB1. So the 3 things that I want most are defensive tackle, wide receiver, and running back. And so the last thing that we wanted to do on this show is give us a hot take. And so, guys, Leo, I'll start with you. This is all about a hot take. So this is not something someone's going to come back and say, Leo, what did you say? Say anything, what you think that you really wouldn't say normally because you think it's too ludicrous, but something you have a feeling that might just happen.
I don't know if this is a hot take, but I still think Anderson's going to finish with 6 or 7 sacks this year.
Okay. All right. Jay, what about you?
Y'all know that I have built my career on not having hot takes, and I usually keep them in because I don't want to sound stupid online. But today, the hot take is we win 12 games this season.
Woo! I love that.
Blistering take. I think we have an opportunity to go off. And when I said I want you to get the word out, we back up, I think we have an opportunity to go off on the rest of the league.
I got to say, I love that, especially from you, Jay, because that's definitely something that doesn't really happen often. You don't really give those type of takes. I gave my hot take on the show on Sunday, and so I'm just going to repeat it, which is that I think that CJ Stroud wins Offensive Rookie of the Year and D'Amico wins Coach of the Year. I think that we get those two records, and I do think that we get to the playoffs, and that's the reason why that they get those awards. So it's the end of the show, but before we end it, we want to be able to support these guys. Jay, tell everyone how they can follow you and what you're cooking.
Hey, so as you guys know, you can see I'm Jay at the Moderate Texan on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. You can find me there. I'm more than willing to talk with you. Hit me up there. You can also email me at the Moderate Texan podcast or the Moderate Texan at gmail.com. Available there, or you can hit me up at the Moderate Texan on YouTube. I'm not that big into social media, not my big thing. As you guys know, I like to do film reviews. I am planning on having one this Friday night at 7 p.m. So stop in, tell me what you think. Let's have a discussion and let's all meet back in the middle.
Leo, where can people find you at?
All right, yeah. So my Twitter my Twitter handle is Leo is forgiven. My YouTube is at 713God. Yes, I know. I am 713. Yeah, fuck you if you don't think that. You know what I mean? I'm just playing. But yeah. So that's my YouTube. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll see links and stuff to sub to the YouTube. Me and Josh me and my co-host Josh, we run the Texans. We make a lot of Texans content, Texan-centric content. So, let us know what you think.
Thanks. Appreciate both of you guys for being a special guest today. I had a lot of fun. Hope you did. And guys, you can follow the Texans Fan Battle podcast on YouTube. We are on every single audio podcast, every single platform. You can follow me on Twitter at Brown Chubby Bear. You can follow Crenshaw and A1 Texans. You'll see their ats right here below. Fifth Ward Crenshaw's at Fifth Ward Crenshaw, and you can follow Matt at A1 Day One Texans. Watch the best Texas Fan Battle podcast ever every Wednesday, 8 p.m. on Central. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We're really trying to bring up the YouTube. So with that said, go Texans, and we'll see you soon.
This is Crenshaw, Briggs, and VT. We want the touchdown. We're not trying to go for 3. And it's best if you get up out